The Badge to the Bone podcast contains adult language, mature themes, psychological nudity. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed here are ours and ours alone. Buckle up.
All right, welcome back to Badge of the Bone podcast. I'm Denny.
I'm Al.
And here we are, Al, another episode.
Yep, let's strap in and get on with it.
I think it's going to be interesting.
I think it's gonna.
All right.
I give it up on society, up on my family, up on your social disease. I give it up on the industry,
Al, hello again.
Good to be here.
Season 3, we're continuing to roll along.
Yeah. No hiccups so far, knock on wood.
See, now you just messed it up. You just messed it up. You don't say it. Just like you don't say it's a quiet night tonight.
Well, you just said that.
Well, but I'm saying it to
did
tell
it.
you not to say it. I'm not saying it to say it. There is a difference, but you don't say that. So now you just jinxed me.
Well,
I don't
jinxed us both.
Man, nice job. Way to start the show. Way to start the show.
I'm going to take another sip of my beverage and shut up.
You're lucky I love you. So we have a guest tonight.
We do, and I know this was something that somebody who had contacted us.
Yeah, got an email.
And I know you did a lot of communication. So
Yep. So we have retired Chief Terry Nichols from Seguin, Texas. He was the retired chief of Seguin, Texas Police Department, and we will get some background on his career as well. But right now, he's the director of business development and I believe it's grant management at a company called BolaWrap Solutions, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well and what they do. But without dragging it on, we got Chief Terry Nichols right here with us, and Chief, I know you want to be called Terry, so we're gonna switch over to Terry. But welcome to Badge to the Bone podcast.
How you doing?
I'm great, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Danielle, for having me, and I look forward to having a great conversation with you. And thank you for calling me Terry. My mom named me Terry; she didn't name me Chief. And I always tell people, please, I appreciate the title, but again, my name is Terry.
Outstanding. So you were I know we did. I did cheat a little bit and ask you the pronunciation before, but it is Seguin, Texas, correct?
Yes, sir. Most recently, I retired in 2022 as chief in Seguin. I spent my last 3 years in law enforcement. After 33 years, I spent my last 3 in Seguin. Wonderful community in Central Texas on Interstate 10, right outside of San Antonio. Very blowing up community. It's just exploding with growth. And I moved down to the Texas coast now with the ever intention of fishing every day.
All right.
That hasn't worked out so well.
No, yeah, well,
it happens.
this is true.
Work calls and they're actually callings happen, and we'll talk more about that I think as we go through. But I appreciate your service. I did a little research on you guys as well, some cheating.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I appreciate all you've done as well. I think we have very parallel careers that we'll be able to have a great discussion.
No, that's awesome. So you said you had 33 years.
Yeah, total. I grew up in Central Texas. My whole life's been in Texas, and I grew up and I moved down to a town called San Marcos, Texas. And it's just south of Austin. It's a college town. It's
Okay,
home of Southwest Texas State University. Now it's Texas State University.
Yeah. I was just recently in Austin. Yeah.
Okay. And I went down there to go get a criminal justice degree because I wanted to be a street cop. And I got on with San Marcos Police Department as a 22-year-old kid, and they gave me a gun and a badge. And nothing should scare anybody more than that, than giving a 22-year-old a gun and a badge.
We might have been those kids.
That's what I said. I think this is going to be a very parallel conversation here.
Yeah.
And you blink and 21 years went by, married, raised a couple kids, started a really unique program. We'll talk about part of my life, the alert program, helped kick it off and get it going and work there for a number of years and decide I want to get back in law enforcement. So in 2016, I left the alert program and went and became my first chief's job in Brownwood, Texas, which is as far away from Central Texas you can get, as far as West Texas.
Oh,
Small
wow.
community, great, conservative, wonderful community, and spent 3 years out there as chief. And opportunity presented itself in Seguin. My kids were back in that general area. My in-laws were in that general area. Everything was right. So we transitioned back over to Seguin. Lived through COVID and all the craziness, and finally, just in 2022, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "You know what? I think it's enough." And
Sure.
we punched. And unique conversation I had with one of my reporters in town. With a great relationship with our local media, and he asked me, because it was a shock to everybody when I announced I was retiring. Everybody was just like floored because everything was going great. He said, "Are you okay?" And this kind of goes back to the podcast that you have. It says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I am. I'm golden. I don't want to not be okay." And
Yeah.
and he looked at me like, "I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying." So we transitioned, and I had no intention to go back to work. We'll get into BolaWrap in a second. And then I got a phone call from a friend of mine and asked me to jump on board BolaWrap, and it's something I'd seen. We can talk to in a minute, and it's something I can get behind. And now I work full time for Wrap Technologies,
Okay.
and talking about this technology.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think that's big that you kind of had some foresight that, you've done your time, and it was time to transition out. Man, I think that's big to say. I'm okay right now. I don't want to get to where I'm not okay.
Yeah, and I saw my coping mechanisms, much like many of ourselves, all of us, were probably not the best and still not the best.
Hey, there's
But
nothing wrong with motorcycles and whiskey. Maybe not together at the same time, but
I don't ride the motorcycles, but I do enjoy the bourbon, and but it just was time. It's just, I think everybody comes to that point, and I think you've found that
Yep.
yourself. When you know
Yes.
it's time, it's time.
yeah, I'm sitting here nodding
Yeah.
vigorously.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because I think a lot of people get where they feel like it's time and think it's time, but fight that and resist it and are hanging on because it is not easy to leave the career. It's just not.
It's scary. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't know what to be financially, or family, or acceptance into a different environment.
Yeah.
This is all I've ever known is
Yep.
carrying a gun and a badge.
Yeah.
My entire adult life. And again, like you, that's been my persona.
Yes.
It's your identity. I mean, you get people that work, say, a normal Dunder Mifflin office job, and that's not their identity. But whether it's cops, firefighters, priests, doctors, I mean that's you are your job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're
I'll
spot
take that
on.
was.
And I moved, so we moved about 2.5 hours away from Seguin. I'm down on the Texas coast now, right on the island, and nobody knows me here. Nobody knows me. Some people do, but they don't know me as chief. They have no idea what my background is, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
It is, just because when you're a chief of an organization, or you've been a police officer in a community for a long time, everybody knows who you are, good or bad. They either love you, or they've arrested them, or you arrested a family member, or whatever's happened to happen. Here, I can walk down the street and I'm just another person, and I kind of dig that.
There's some value in that. There's some
Absolutely.
So I would guess, because I was going to ask you, but it seems to me that your transition out of law enforcement has been very good.
I like to think it has been. I'm traveling a lot, which I didn't think that would happen quite as much as I wanted to, because I've done a lot of teaching over my career, over my life and career. Transitioned, the alert program and many others, and I do a lot of teaching, so I traveled with that. But the business now with Wrap Technologies has me going out and talking about the technology and trying to save lives and save careers in law enforcement. So I'm kind of still dabbling, still in law enforcement, but just not on the enforcement side, law enforcement side, leadership side.
Yeah, I found that with a lot of folks that retire, they still find their way into something that still touches that profession, that public safety, which is a good thing. I think it's great because you have that experience and perspective. But I do find it very common. I think that helps. I mean, I think for me, that's helped me transition, that I'm still doing something where and touching that public safety. So,
Oh, we got this.
well, that right, right,
Yeah.
right.
There
So,
it is. That says a lot right there. You're going out trying to give back now. It's just a different way of giving back and serving.
Sure.
A different way of serving is what the podcast and the things I've listened to that you guys have done is wonderful because it's speaking to things that we haven't spoken on before openly. And
it is.
now is the time, if ever, now is the time that we need to have these courageous conversations.
So I want to jump into the BOLA here in a few. You kind of pick your brain on that, but before that, because we talk a lot about mental wellness. Of course, we talk a lot about leadership and challenges in the law enforcement community. So, from your perspective, having 33 years served that time and then served in a leadership position as chief of an agency, and now having retired, you're still, kind of in touch with the law enforcement community. But how do you view what the status of the profession is now? What are you viewing as challenges that they're facing?
Man, tougher than ever. When you think it couldn't get any worse during COVID, and now it's just worse. You throw in, everything with the George Floyd, the protest, and it just cascades. The prosecution now, Austin. I said I worked around Austin. They indicted 19 officers. Because of riots and that kind of chaos going on. It's just, and again, I travel around now with BolaWrap and Wrap Technologies doing a demonstration of this technology, and I have an opportunity to talk to some great officers. I mean, from the biggest agencies to the smallest of agencies that are looking for different options and hearing what's going on in their communities, hearing the struggles they're having. I think it's a tough time in law enforcement. Would I encourage one of my kids? I have 2 adult kids. Would I encourage one of them to get in law enforcement? Absolutely not. I wouldn't. One is in a first responder in the EMS side.
There you go.
And one is a cybersecurity, whatever he does. I can't even spell what he does, but cybersecurity stuff, and he's doing very well at it. But the state of affairs, I do see some glimmer of hope on leadership. Maybe I'm blind to it, but I know some really, really great leaders out there, law enforcement leaders, and I know how they run their departments. I see them, I watch them. They're some of my mentors. And there's some great things going on out there. At the same time, there are still some absolutely horrible leaders out there, if you call them leaders. Some horrible bosses, as it were.
Yep.
Out there leading organizations, which breaks my heart, which makes me want to jump back in with all 4 feet. Because I think I can do it differently. And give those troops a different angle of what leadership looks like. But my time is come and gone. So I watch my part.
One of the things we talk about here a lot is this kind of nexus between mental health and the work environment. And a theory that we have, because it keeps coming up in all these conversations, is that the leadership within law enforcement, the office climate, if you will, of law enforcement is driving a lot of our mental health problems in the profession. And I'm curious what you might think about that, especially having been a chief.
I think it absolutely can. I mean, we do some of the teaching I do is on leadership, and it's some of the polling software that we use. You can, what is it? We'll put a poll word up on the screen. What is your biggest stressor in your job as a police officer? Everybody thinks it's getting shot or getting run over or something like that. No, administration comes across number 1 every time.
Yeah, every time.
Yep.
Every time it's administration. And then as leaders, you have to look at yourself and say, why is that? What is it? What is causing this? Is it me individually? Is it my mid-level leadership, mid-level managers that is causing this? Is it first line supervisors? So if you are that focal point, you're that focal leader of the organization, chief, as it were. And again, let me set the bar here of what we're talking about. I had an organization of 60 sworn, total of 82 personnel in Seguin. Great organization, great council, great mayor, great city manager. I can't say enough great things about it. I mean, wonderful. But at the end of the day, it starts with the chief and start about the culture of an organization. Some simple things that I did, not everybody does, but it wears me out when I see it, if I expected the grant requires everybody wears body armor, right? If you get a body armor grant, everybody has to wear body armor.
Yep.
Except the chief. That's not codified in writing anywhere, but that seems to be the way of the world. And it wears me. I was a uniform chief about half the time. The rest of the time, the shirt, tie, that kind of stuff. But if I had a uniform on, I had body armor on. I had my tourniquet on. I had everything that the officer on the street carries, I carry. And when I see other leaders, other chiefs of other organizations, whether it be a 5,000 man department or a 5-man department, 5-person department, and you're standing there not wearing body armor, that wears me out. If you don't have a tourniquet on your belt, that wears me out because you're setting such a poor example for your troops. You're saying it's okay for me to do this, but not you. I know the worst thing that's going to happen to me is get a paper cut. I might get carpal tunnel syndrome from typing too much. But I expect the men and women to wear body armor. I'm going to wear body armor.
No, I think that's that. I could definitely appreciate that, and I believe that's noticed. I mean, all officers. Well, I mean, they're trained. They spend a career being observant and trained observers. So that is noticed when you have your leader is decked out the way you are decked out. The things that you're mandated to wear, they're wearing. But it's even more noticed when they're not wearing that gear.
I honestly tried to lead by example in everything I did. I'm not 100%. I'm not some saint, obviously. But I genuinely care about my people. I genuinely did. And that takes a toll. That's part of that whole thing about checking out,
Right.
It's a load to care about. Again, I had 82 total employees. I care about every one of them, sworn or non-sworn. And to carry their burdens with you all the time takes a toll on a leader that believes like that, has that type of mentality. Checking on them, send them birthday messages. I mean, all the things that come with good, solid leadership takes a toll on somebody. If you're that type of person that you don't care, you just come and you're collecting a paycheck and you're not that solid leader, you can survive just fine. Just carry on. See somebody's boots not shine, chew them up, chew them down for not having the boot shined, or tell their sergeant to write them up for not having the boot shined, and carry on. I think nothing about it. That would never sit with me. It just wasn't my personality.
My dad was a lot like that. He was sheriff for a long time in the neighboring county that I live in now. But he was like that. Very people were really important to him, and the individual was always important to him, and I could tell it. And he carried that burden. And I remember when he retired, me, and some of his close friends, we noticed, because he carried that stress and burden, he retired, and a few days later, it looked like he was 10 years younger. I mean, he was, looked like everything was off of his shoulders. But that's just the type of individual he was. So you're right. For a leader that truly takes that to heart, that is a lot to carry.
But you accept it. You
Sure.
have to go into accepting that. One of my mentors, a great man, and he told me, when he became chief, I said, why did you do this? He became chief long before I did. Why'd you do this? He said, I saw all the other not so qualified people, I'll put it that way, becoming chiefs. He's like, by God, if they can do this, I can certainly do this, and I can do it 100 times better. And he said, that's why I did it. And, looking back, I kind of think that may be part of what drove me as well, because I saw the type of people that were out there and going like, man, that's not the way if I was running the show, that's not the way I'd be doing it. And maybe that's part of the psyche in me. If I had to talk to a psychologist, they may sit down and do a deep dive in me and figure out maybe that's part of what drove me to do it as well. I don't know.
Sure.
No, being at that level, it goes without saying that you're going to have to make decisions that people aren't going to like. I mean, the troops are not going to like. And that's, that is what it is. And I think how that is handled is so critical. And many times I'm not sure that it always is handled the way it could be. And then you have this other aspect that we talk about here quite a bit, is that servant leader. Are you a servant leader?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not sure that we have a lot of servant leaders anymore. Particularly, I think it's particularly acute in large municipalities. But
I don't disagree with you. You asked the question early on about the current state. I have faith because maybe I try to surround myself with good leaders. I'm not attracted to people that I see how they run an organization and they're not good servant leaders. I'm not attracted to them, so I'm not going to hang around them. They're not part of my circle. I try to surround myself with people like me. I try to model my behavior after people I respect, and I see how they do great servant leadership, do things for the right reasons. They treat people the right way. They actually care. It's an amazing concept. They care about people.
You think about it, it's really not that hard.
It's not. You're right. I had to make tough decisions. Every chief does. Every supervisor does. That people aren't going to like. I can tell you right now that there's a handful you can call that probably, have not good things to say about me. Unfortunately. But I can tell you it wasn't because I didn't care about them. It was because I had to do what I had to do. It takes courage to have courageous conversations with people about many things, many, many different things. It takes courage to tell somebody this is not the business for you. It also takes that same amount of courage to tell people this person deserves another chance. I'm willing to put my name behind this person and give them another chance. Yeah, they screwed up. It's not one of those catastrophic ones where it's a Brady issue or something like that. But it's just a judgment call on an administrator's part that I'll put my name behind them, And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm willing to do that.
Yeah. I mean, those are tough areas to deal with. Like I say, on both ends, it's tough to make the decision when you're going to back somebody and give them that second chance. I know it's tough to tell folks that this is not the profession for you, and many people try to avoid that. And I've seen in my time folks that probably are not in the right place, but no one has really stepped in and said, you need to reevaluate where you are.
And administrators, you have to look at the greater good of the department, the community as a whole, the city, county, or whatever it is, the state, and say, and call it what it is, and help them find a different way. You don't have to burn them. You don't have to burn the bridge, but just help them understand this is not going to work. At least not here. It may work somewhere else just fine, but right now, on its current circumstances, whatever that may be, this isn't going to work here. I tried my best to salvage people's careers. They made mistakes, and they were not going to work for us anymore. But y'all know about the database everybody is tracking now, and about misdeeds and things like that. I tried my best to good people and keep them employable, because there's that scarlet letter you can get in this business.
Oh yes.
And not if it was legit and you got to do what you got to do. But there's some that's such a gray area. I tried my best because, again, I generally cared about these people. They may have made a really bad mistake, because we all do. I have in life, you have in life. We've all made mistakes. If there's a way I could help salvage it, I certainly tried my best. And I can sleep good at night knowing I tried. And many of them are doing great stuff. Doing great things. It just didn't work out at our organizations.
Well, I think me and Al agree on that kind of topic right there, that there is a difference between mistakes of the mind and mistakes of the heart. I think some folks don't look at them as different, but
there's a lot that is recoverable if it's not an integrity issue. If you're not lying, cheating, or stealing,
right,
there's a lot you can bounce back from.
Sure. Yeah. One of those scarlet letter ones, it's something you can't do. You're done. I can't fix that. It's just unfortunate. Whatever happened.
Right.
I can't say which agency it was, but I can tell you, we had an officer go through, talk about mental health, and went through a situational stress. It was not in a good place. And our agency had to actually do emergency detention on him. Our own agency had to do emergency detention on him and get him help. Of course, if I want to work with this person again, not quite so sure. And the full expectation was I was going to fire this person, and I absolutely did not. We got him help. We paid for the help. We took care of business, and by all accounts, an outstanding officer today, and a rising star in the organization. And that's the way it should be. Everybody fully. And now there was a lot of work to be done to fix the relationships and everything else, because how do you go share a shift with the people that just did an involuntary commitment on you?
Sure.
There's obviously things to work through there, but they did, and he was got through the situational stress he was going through, and overcame that hurdle, and now is an incredibly well respected member of that organization, and it's on the other side of it. So we got to take care of our own as best we can.
Well, that's pretty remarkable, because Alan, we talk a lot about that. That is such a fear if you're in law enforcement, is having that. If you're going to have that committal, or you're going to go and seek that treatment, that you're going to lose your badge, and you're going to lose it forever. You're out. You're out of the game. You're done.
Well, unfortunately, what you just said is the exception as opposed to the rule.
And I know it is. I know.
And we talk to a lot of people, and Denny and I are very candid in so much as we've been those people to varying degrees at varying times, where you didn't go to your admin and say I need some help, I whatever that is. You didn't say it. And when we bring people on the show to talk about their experiences, that's a recurring theme. Either they felt that they couldn't, or they did, and it really came back to bite them in the ass.
And I think it still plays out. It plays out day in and day out in our business. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm that albatross out there. Just that one situation, it just worked out that way. Now,
sure.
The easy out would have been wash our hands and be done it. But
and that's the usual.
This is a human being. Okay, a human being goes through life stressors. I go through life stressors. You've gone through life stressors. It may have nothing to do with the job. It could be financial.
You just called an employee a human being?
Yes, we are.
I know. I'm sorry. My cynicism kicked in for a second.
But
that's good to hear, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make myself out to be a saint. I'm not. I had great leaders. Luckily, I had great leaders before me, that taught me the way. Like I told you earlier, I try to surround myself with people that were incredible leaders, served with humility, had courage, a sense of duty, all these leadership characteristics that are out there. And that's what I tried to model. Did I get it right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Did I at least try? You brought up the, going and reporting to your administration. And we always had, every city we ever worked for has the Employee Assistance Program, right?
Mm-hmm.
The EAP. Send them to the EAP.
Yeah. And some are better than others.
Well, and my argument to our administration, and man, hats off to Seguin. The fire chief and myself were like, the EAP, that's great for family counseling. Your kid's not doing well. You get a bad relationship. They can probably handle that kind of stuff. But the stuff our men and women are dealing with, what they're seeing on the street, what they live through, their life stressors they're dealing with, that EAP person is not the person they need to talk to. They need a specialist.
Yep.
And we actually had a very well-renowned counselor on retainer for the city for police and fire.
Oh, wow.
And we paid the bill. We paid the bill. You go. And they just send me the invoice, and I'd sign off on it that they went. I knew they went because I got the invoice.
Right.
What they talked about, now, unless it's a life safety issue, something like that, that's a whole separate ballgame.
Sure.
But if it's they need to go get something off their chest and seek help, we encouraged it. I need you healthy. I need you at work. I don't need you burdened down with whatever's going on at home, at work, with your wife, with finances, whatever it is. The 3 dead bodies you saw in a burned up car. Get the help, and we're going to pay for that because I need you healthy. I need you whole.
Man, yeah, that's pretty rare too.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Again,
more
that's
of that.
very good to hear.
I'm seeing more of it. Honestly, sorry to interrupt you. I get it in Texas, in Central Texas, within my sphere of the folks I was involved with, the Texas Police Chiefs Association and people like that. That is very key. That we're trying to really watch out for the mental health of our men and women who are out there on the front lines. And another thing I did too is try to set the stage with my officers. Like, it seems like fatality accidents are the worst. Everyone wants to go see the dead body. And I finally got to the point, like telling my first line supervisors, nope. If they don't belong on the scene, they don't come to the scene. You kick them out of there. Now, if there's a learning opportunity here for an FTO or something like that they've never seen a dead body or something like that, okay, they need to be part of the investigation, whatever. But if you have those looky-loos coming just to come see a dead body, out. Get them out of there. That, to me, that's just another tick mark in our brain. That 20 years down the road, you're going to remember that they all add up. They add up. They add up. There's no sense that we allow us, administrators, first-line supervisors, middle-level managers, we allow those tick marks to keep checking in. If we can prevent them, let's prevent them.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. When I was in investigations, I was a sergeant in there for a while, and every now and then you have, some stuff you have to go out to, some you don't. Or my counterpart, the sergeant would be out there. And he's calling, going, "Hey, this is what I got. I'm going to be here a while. Just letting you know, I'm tied up here." And he's like, "If you want to slide on down, catch up." And I'm like, and I got to the point where I'm like, no, I don't need another photograph in the photo album. I just don't, unless I need to be there, unless you need me there specifically. I don't need another photograph to an album I wish I didn't have. So
good for you. And unfortunately, we don't do that as a business. So it's still, hey, come see this. Hey, come over here.
It is.
And we've got to do a better job of policing our own and not making those sold albums as big as they are. Yours and ours are maybe this thick. And, let's make the people the next 20 years, there's maybe a little bit smaller.
Yep. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. And I think the other issue, too, that has become a big leadership issue is, when something really big does blow up. And I'll actually use an example from your state.
Oh, I know where you go.
I have friends that work in Texas. Good buddy up in Austin with their PD. But I have a number of friends that work Border Patrol. And one of them was working horseback down in Laredo sector. And of course, we had the folks coming across the border, and you had that one guy on horseback, and the President of the United States of America is saying that this Border Patrol officer is horsewhipping this illegal coming across the border.
I remember that.
Which he did not do at all.
I remember this now. Yeah, I remember this.
And this was pre-IA or DOJ, whatever, method they have. No evidence had been gone through. This was the line of thought, line of reasoning, if you will, seemingly supported by the Chief of Border Patrol. And in those kind of situations, enormous amounts of stress and really hurting the troops and hurting the credibility of leadership.
It does. And getting out and trying to get in front of the community issues. So you have a shooting, and it's not good. The saying is, bad news does not age well.
Right.
So get out in front of it, but that doesn't mean you fire somebody tomorrow. It's going to, it's a bad shoot. It's not going to come out, but you don't turn around and go out the next day and fire them. There's called due process.
Or you don't even just get out there and declare them guilty before.
Exactly. I mean, do any of that kind of stuff. You let the investigation run its course, but I've watched countless of these situations, especially post George Floyd, where there's something happened and they immediately jumped out and fired the officers like the next day. 2 days later, the officers are fired. I'm like, they're going to get their jobs back. I tell you right now, they're going to get their job back because due process was not followed.
And again, you talked about Austin. You had Art Acevedo up there in Austin, carpet bombing that police department.
He almost just came back and actually withdrew.
geez.
I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Almost came back and did what?
So he's been the interim in Aurora, and I know Art. I don't know him well, but I do know Art. He was the interim in Aurora, and last week they announced he was coming to Austin to be the deputy city manager over the police department, and he resigned from Aurora. And then he got a lot of political pushback on that. And the last announcement I saw on social media was that he has now withdrawn his acceptance of that job. So I don't know what's next for Art. But it sounds like he's not in Aurora anymore, and he's not coming to Austin.
Well, no disrespect to you. Hope his next gig is retirement.
Yeah, with Art, there's no telling. You know, he's gone here, he's gone there, he's gone a little bit everywhere. But I was shocked to see that. I thought things were going well in Aurora. I've got a good friend in Aurora, works with their crisis response team. She's actually the manager of the crisis response team. Incredible lady. And talking more about what she does, not so much about his leadership or anything else. Just
Right.
seemed like things were going fine in Aurora, and all of a sudden I saw this announcement about Austin. And I'm like, okay, interesting, but okay. But now we're back to square one with Austin. I don't know what's going on with that place. It's something else.
It's a neat town.
It is.
It's a cool town.
It's a little weird, but
I mean,
it's,
I had a good time
cool.
there. I mean, I had a great time there.
Yeah.
I mean, I got me a new pair of Tacovas while I was there and everything, and I was having a great time. But I mean, it's a shame that they're going through those struggles. But I dig Austin.
Yeah,
it's actually not so much the police leadership. From my understanding, it's more the elected district attorney.
Yeah.
Like you see many other places that are going to make a name for themselves. They're going to put the fist down and go, "What? I'm going after cops. I'm going after dirty cops. I'm going after cops that use excessive force and blah blah blah." A whole litany list of things that they want to go after. So they're taking these very 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 crazy cases, like the 19 officers they indicted during the riots. Somebody took a beanbag to the eye. Okay, not ideal. Is that a civil case? Absolutely, all day long it is.
Sure.
Let that play out as it plays out. But the DA chose to indict 19 people over that one beanbag.
Right.
So luckily, they've dropped most of those indictments. I'm understanding.
I think they have.
I think you're right that it is driven to a great extent by the civilian elected leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have somebody who's at the top within the police department that's willing to go, okay, sounds good, and go right along with it, then it becomes problematic.
It takes intestinal fortitude to stand up to those kind of situations, and being willing to, if it crosses your boundary of right and wrong, that what's going on, you need to be able to walk away, and just say, this is not me. This is not what I believe in. Say your piece to your boss. And my boss was always a city manager. And I was so blessed, both in Brownwood, Emily, my city manager in Brownwood, who hired me as a chief, kind of went out on a limb and hired this guy that had never been chief before. We're dear friends to this day. I would say my piece. If it was something like that, I'd say my piece and then go from there. Never had to, because she was a great leader and we never had those issues. And same as Seguin. Again, blessed. I didn't have to have that conversation, but each of us individually in leadership need to recognize you need to have what your core values are. And if it starts going left or right, those core values, you need to stand up and say no and walk away and not, bow down to it. Because what you're saying, if you bow down to that, what you're saying is that then these aren't my core values.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
if you do bow down to it, you're saying that my core value is my paycheck and my title.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yes. Or, you're just rethinking your core values and for a paycheck.
Yeah. Right. That's
just
exactly
shift
right.
I want to shift a little left or a little right, to align myself with the values of my leaders above me, whether it be a city council, a mayor, a city manager, whoever it is.
And I say that, and that doesn't mean that every hill is the hill to die on.
Well, sure.
But-
I mean, I think that's a good phrase. Is this the hill I want to die on? I think it's something you got to ask.
But if you get to that hill, be willing to die on it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that is a good point. Is not every hill is one to die on. I've had plenty of conversations with my bosses saying, and agree, okay, here we go. But they did not go left or right too far of my core values
Sure.
as a human being, as an officer or as a leader. Asking me to do something, against my troops that I just couldn't stomach. If that were the case, and again, I never had this, thank God. But if it was something just against the core values that I believed in, how I ran my police department, I would have done what I did and just said, thank you very much for the opportunity to serve and carry on.
Mhm.
I'll go somewhere else.
So, I'd like to kind of transition in. So, coming into leaving law enforcement,
Yeah.
and now with the company that you are with now, because another one of the challenges for law enforcement is use of force, and officers being charged with use of force. Officers being timid to use force in some cases, depending on how their area is viewing it, and that's becoming a big issue. The type of force, the amount of force, all that is really being highlighted. Sometimes not so good, but I understand you have some technology, or your company has some technology that is working towards that. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And I appreciate you segueing into this because it is a perfect opportunity. I'll start with my why I'm with the company. Before I retired, I went to a demonstration of the technology, the BolaWrap. If you've never seen one, this is what it looks like. And
Yeah, I've not
our,
seen
viewer,
that.
our
Yeah.
viewers can't see it.
Okay.
The listeners can't see it, but it was at the Texas Department of Public Safety. And I was in regular uniform, my blower pants, and I was literally probably 2 months from retirement.
Mhm.
And I'm not an early adopter of technology. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to stand in a line 2 days for an iPhone. I mean, my
Me
iPhone's 15 generations old, And I'd seen this before, and I was like, not really. So I went to this. So when there were these troopers and all these other people, and they go to the PowerPoint show, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. All right. So who wants to get wrapped? And none of these troopers nobody want to get wrapped. I'm like, fine, wrap me, do it. I don't care. So next thing you know, they deployed this tool at me, and it looks like a TV remote control. It deploys out a 7.5-foot Kevlar cord. It's coming out about 400 feet per second. And it's got these anchors on the end. And it's a piece of cord, Kevlar cord, and when it hits something, it wraps around you, and the hooks will grab your clothes and restrains you. It's not an electronic control device. It's not pepper spray or anything like that. It's simply a cord that wraps around you and restrains you. It's loud. It sounds like a gunshot.
Oh, wow.
So all of a sudden, I was like, pop, I hear this loud noise. My eyes immediately go down to my legs, and I see it, and I can't go anywhere. I mean, I'm not hurt. It didn't hurt. My
Sure.
legs are restrained. And I'm like, and they run up and grab my arms like they're going to handcuff me. I'm like, what just happened to me? And before I could blink, they're on me. And I'm going like, man, this could be a game changer. So my mind started racing through all my times in my career. And it's designed when someone's, long before somebody starts fighting. This is for low-level resistance. You're lawfully detainable, whether it be for a mental health hold or a criminal offense. And I have the right to handcuff you. I don't want to fight you. I prefer not to use a pain-inducing tool on you, like electronic control device or something like that. So you have this BolaWrap. And, man, this cord wraps around you, puts you in handcuffs. No pain, cut it off. You're going about your business, take them to jail, take them to the hospital, take them wherever. So I started thinking to my mind all the times in my career, when could I have used this? A lot. And then I started thinking about all the use of force reviews, because in our organization, every use of force review came across my desk.
Right.
I saw the body cam footage, I saw the car cam footage, and it's just a checks and balances, making sure we're doing the right things, going with our training. Is equipment working? Is it not working? All those kinds of things. And I was like, man, this is going to be a game changer. I really said this technology potentially has a chance to be a game changer in our business, because it does not rely on pain for compliance. It's simply a restraint tool. So I immediately went back and wrote a grant out right before I left. Wrote a grant out. They didn't get the grant. Seguin didn't get the grant. Fast forward a couple months, I get a phone call from the company after I retired. Would you be interested in coming on board? Because you obviously like this stuff. And I did. And now, I've been wrapped hundreds of times. I've probably wrapped hundreds of people in demonstrations and things like that. Introduced many, many agencies to the technology. And we honestly believe, and I have no doubt about it, it's going to save lives and it's going to save careers. And I think that's where the important part is, on the career part. because we know when we get into, a low level resistance, you look at FBI data, some of it said like half the time that when use of force, it's not complete, but the people that report use of force to FBI, about half the time somebody ends up with serious bodily injury, usually shooting. But they start out with low level resistance. So I'm trying to compute in my mind, how does this work? We started out a situation with low level resistance, and we end up with half the time somebody ends up with serious bodily injury.
Sure.
What's going on here? And it tells me that these low level resistance, somebody with public intoxication, somebody with a mental health, hold, they need to go to the hospital, they don't want to go, turns into a fight, right? And we do scrap with people our whole careers, right? We use electronic control devices on people, and pain, anything that induces pain, and that tends to piss people off. When you start hurting somebody with pepper spray or shocking them, they tend to get pissed off many times. But now I think, and that's when things start to escalate and the fight gets bigger. And when we come into a fight, anytime we fight with somebody, one thing we always bring with us is a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes that one drunk, reaching up trying to grab your gun. Now you're taking a simple PI arrest, and it's almost it could potentially turn into a deadly force situation if they're grabbing your gun. You tracking with me? So if we figure out the technology now, we can remotely restrain somebody and kind of overwhelm them sensorily with the noise, the sensation, the wrap, and get them in custody before they have a chance to make a stupid decision and fight us or anything else. It's a win. They're not getting hurt. We're not having to use higher levels of force. It's a win-win for everybody.
So this is something, trying to get a picture of where I would be deploying it. So this is kind of that preemptive strike. You've got that person. We know we're going to arrest him, whether it's be domestic or whether he's this individual, he or she has a warrant for, but we know we're going to arrest him. They're not sure whether we're going to arrest him or not, but they've already started getting animated. You're not taking me to jail. Fuck this. Screw you. Don't even come over here. Don't, you're not taking me nowhere. Y'all need to cut me loose. And they're getting really animated. And so before it goes beyond that, you would deploy the wrap. Pow.
Absolutely.
In the wrap, and then you go in to detain and handcuff. So this is not something you would use when the fight is on. Like,
absolutely no.
If you showed up and the fight's on, we are, it's shit and get the minute you get there and those happen, or someone that's running or fleeing, you're trying to use the wrap to hit them on a fleeing suspect.
You can certainly do that. Hit them on the legs, let them trip on their own, let them fall on their own. They can still break their fall with their hands. Just let them hit them in the legs, because this thing will go from 10 to 25 feet.
Sure.
This cord will. And let them fall on their own and run up and deal with them. But yeah, when the fight's on. We have other tools on our belt for that. We've never had things on our belt that did not induce pain. This is the first time that I know of in history of law enforcement of anything, because I can make handcuffs. I was a PPCT instructor many years ago. I can make those handcuffs certainly hurt. But this is something that doesn't create pain. But yeah, I tell you, ask, tell, wrap is kind of what we say. So I ask you, hey, please turn around, put your hands on your back, you're under arrest, you have a warrant. No. I'm going to tell you, please turn around, put your hands on your back, you're under arrest, you have a warrant. No. Wrap them.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's, use it early, use it often, double wrap them. I have a great video I found in TikTok of all places. I'm not a big TikToker. But it's got an airport, and he's drunk. And he's belligerent, yelling and screaming. It's up in Medford, Oregon, of all places. And the officers go deal with him, and he's just, he's in the F and F is just in there. Yep. He's drunk. And they decide to go arrest him. So there's three of them, and two of them go to get hands on. The fight's on.
Yep.
The first time he goes for the gun belt, one time, he grabs the gun belt. He doesn't grab the gun side, but he grabs the gun belt. He actually flips these guys over pretty good. He's a scrapper. And he flips these officers over. Next thing you know, he goes for the gun.
Oh, wow.
There's a PI. He reaches for the officer's gun. Luckily, they get him under control. A citizen comes up, tries to help. They back him off. They finally bail off the guy. And he stands up, and they use a taser on him. He falls down and gets in custody. But that's a perfect example. You're under arrest. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Wrap. Boom. Okay. There would have been no fight. So then you start thinking about officer injuries. Talk about caring about your people. When we fight people, you've probably been hurt just like I have been at one point or another. Broken pinky, torn rotator cuff. Pick your poison. That now I've got an officer as a chief, put my chief hat on for a second. I've got an officer that's on the desk now, because of a torn ACL or rotator cuff or a broken pinky whatever it is. Now the shift's short. Now they're not happy because they're out, shagging calls because
Right.
someone's riding the desk.
Yep.
There's a workers' comp claim. All those things cascade. This technology is actually an opportunity to hopefully get away from some of that. Reduce officer injuries, reduce suspect injuries, individual injuries, reduce claims, excessive force claims you talked about. That's a stressor on our officers out there. Is, am I going to get sued for using this? We've never been sued at all. This device is used in 1,100 agencies across the U.S. now, 63 countries. We've never been sued.
Oh, wow. That was going to be my next question is how many agencies are currently deploying that?
We're over 1,100 right now in the U.S., in 63 countries as well. It's gaining popularity daily. People are starting to look at it and go like, I'd heard about this. I wasn't quite sure about it. They're like me.
Right.
Not early adopters of technology. I'm not sure about this. And more every week are coming on board and saying, okay, I get it. So I tell the cops to do presentations. We have that case that, it turns out really bad. We end up in an officer involved shooting, we end up killing somebody because it happens. In our business, it happens. But it started out with that low level resistance and it just escalated and escalated and escalated and ended up in a really bad outcome. If we started out our way at pain compliance up here, and then we end up at using guns, okay. What if we say now we can say we started down here at the lowest level possible? My presence, then my verbal commands. Yep. Then I have this tool that doesn't cause pain. I tried it. It didn't work for whatever reason. Okay.
Sure.
It didn't work. So then I moved up around my belt and I ended up really, really negative outcome. What does a jury think about that? That's huge. That at least you tried.
Sure.
You didn't go from here to here. You tried here, you tried here, you tried here. Now, is there ever a situation going to be like that? Absolutely not. Sometimes it goes from 0 to 100.
Oh, yeah.
You know that. I know that. Yeah. That's life. That's life. But I think it's great technology.
So I'm going to be that guy.
Sure.
The last several years I was on the job, I was a use of force instructor, DT, firearms. And I have some degree of familiarization with this product. I've never used it. I've never had it used on me. I've never been to a demo. I've read some articles and seen some video. And all the video I've seen have been like, in a training environment, not a real world deployment. And I said with the utmost respect, I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I'm skeptical about the situations in which it can be used, like in enclosed space, like somebody's living room. In that domestic situation where you have to go into the house and now you're in the living room and now the confrontation's occurring there. Or somebody who you wrap them and you wrap their feet and they smack their face into the parking lot pavement and now they're winning a suit against you, or you can't wrap them at all because they're running. Obviously I could be completely wrong, and I'm happy to admit I'm wrong, but for somebody like me who is I'd love to see the better mousetrap, if you will, but I'm skeptical. How do you convince me?
Well, I would say I will jump in real quick just on my perspective. I mean, I definitely see some of the challenge you're talking about, tight spaces, and I think there probably is times where you just can't deploy it.
Or do you have officers that are deploying this when they should be going to something higher?
Well, I mean, I think we face that with every tool on the belt.
True.
But yeah, I think I go back to Taser. Taser has the same thing. You can't deploy that in every situation.
True.
And then I will say, Taser has the same thing. When you tase somebody, if you don't go grab them, they are going to fall on their face and they're going to face plant the ground and there is going to be damage. I've seen that firsthand. So that's the same thing. And we don't have that. Plus the Taser also actually punctures a hole in you that you're ripping out of them, or at least 2 holes in you that they're pulling out of you. So, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, but I think some of the things like an injury after the fact, I don't see it too much different from what the point of
Well,
taser,
well,
really.
two, is there, I know we're peppering you with questions. So,
No, that's open
the,
conversation. I love it. I love it.
those situations where, a lot of confrontations, they're relatively close in.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're talking maybe 3 meters or less, probably less. And, is there a minimum space that this technology needs to have, a minimum distance that it exits the device and has to deploy and do what it does? So if I'm too close, I can't use it.
I'd say taser has that same challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't be too close, can't be too far.
But taser, you have the option of, deploying the prongs or dry stun.
You can.
So-
But you got to be right up close and personal for it. And it's still not as effective.
So everything you said to be critical is you're spot on. You should be critical. You should be. Everybody should be until you see it and try it and do it. So, what you say? How would I answer all that? Is the design for every situation? Absolutely not. Confined spaces is one of them. You need about 3 foot of clearance around somebody because it's a 7.5 foot piece of Kevlar coming out. Okay. So is it going to work indoors? Not well. It could, but not well. Are we looking for that perfect wrap every time? We're looking for that restraint. Well, that's part of it. But what if the noise alone startles them so bad that it gets them out of that funk, whatever funk they're in? They hear that pop go off and they feel something hit them, slap them in the legs or slap them in the arms, and they look down. It gives you that window of opportunity to close in and grab them, and we don't have to fight them anymore. That's success. So there's different ways to define success. Running. We say yes, on running, trip them up. So it goes back to the space. Let me back up in a second. Distance, you said 10 to 25 feet. So yes, sir, you can be too close. We don't want to be 10 is kind of our minimum, because the cord needs time to come out and open up.
Right.
So that 10 feet is, your sweet spot's 12 to 15. I've seen perfect wraps all the time at 12 to 15, but 10 is our minimum. But if someone starts running from you and you get it out and deploy it at their feet and let them trip, and if the cord, feet are going to take on the cord, they can still break their fall with their hands. Unlike electronic control device, okay, it locks you up, it locks up the muscles, and you're right, their face finds the closest concrete.
Right.
And they lose their teeth. At best, they lose their teeth. Worst case, like Atlanta had, is a man, a panhandler, fell and broke his neck. He's quadriplegic. And a federal jury awarded him $100 million, 60 from the city of Atlanta and 40 from the officer individually. $40 million judgment on the officer.
Is it?
Holy crap!
Was that from a BolaWrap?
No. That's no. That was some taser.
That's
Oh,
taser.
okay.
That was taser. Now the city of Atlanta got themselves removed from that judgment.
Okay.
The officer's still on the hook for the $40 million.
Oh,
now we've never been sued. We've never had a serious injury. Any kind of serious injury. Is there a chance? So we mentioned barbs. That I know our listeners can't see these, but you can.
Right.
These are designed to go into clothes. Can they puncture your skin? They can. Okay, but the worst thing you're going to do is pull it out, and that's that. Put a Band-Aid on it, and they go to jail. They go to the hospital for a mental health hold, whatever reason they're going. But yeah, I would encourage you. So we have a YouTube channel, and we get body cam videos from agencies across the country that are doing them. Great wraps, not so great wraps, and we put them all out there. And so look at our YouTube channel. You'll see a bunch of just staged ones, demo ones.
Right.
You'll see actually body cam footage of a live deployments. And next time in your neck of the woods, come by, man. You can wrap me or I'll wrap you and let you see what it's about.
Oh, we could do it in front of your garage.
I would definitely love to see you wrap Al. I would pay good money for that.
Would you know?
Yes.
How much?
You name the price on that, or a good bottle of something.
I'm about to say it comes in bottles. That's what I was about to say.
I'll bring a good bottle that I'll exchange for a wrap on Al.
Al's what's cool about this. This doesn't hurt. That's what's so unique about it. It's not designed for pain.
Right.
And that's what communities can get behind. If I was still chief, we would have them outfitted. Every officer would have one. Because I'd rather them trying to wrap somebody and prevent a fight, preventing higher levels of force, than not. And
how well controlled is like the aim on this? So, because it looks like it's just a box and
and
like you
it
said, a
is
TV remote kind of
point
thing.
of aim, point of impact. So this is, again, our listeners can't see this, but you
Looks
can.
like a remote. Yep.
Yeah.
Looks like a big
Garage door
garage
opener.
door opener.
Yeah.
So you can.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's got a green laser that's like a horizontal line.
There you go. And our aiming points are like mid thigh to ankles, or wrist to elbows.
Okay.
And
So
it's point aim, point impact.
So what under stress, I deploy this thing, I accidentally wrap this around somebody's neck or face. And all jokes aside, but I wrapped it around his neck.
I get that question all the time.
I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't ask.
No, we get the question all the time. That's a good
Al,
question.
this is your fifth wrap of a man's neck. you got some explaining to do.
Before I answer the question, I'm going to tell you how we found this out. Is we had some SWAT officers. Yes, some SWAT officers that wanted to know the answer to that question. So let's try on each other.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So I'm a former SWAT guy. I'm a former tactical guy, so I can.
Okay,
I'll
there
say
you
this.
go.
But they tried it. For one, it will not constrict and choke somebody out. The physics aren't there. Okay, it's going to feel about like that. The biggest danger are what we call the anchors that grab the clothes. It's flying around someone's head and eyes. That's the biggest danger. So, again, think about when this is designed to be used. Though it's designed to be used very early in an encounter.
Right.
Ask tell, wrap. Let's not let things get out of control. Let's just preemptively strike this thing, wrap somebody, be done with it. So I'm not under a ton of stress. I'm not having to do a lot of things. My partner's talking to somebody. We know this is going to end up in a fight. And say, hey, let's wrap this person. Okay. On me, wrap, pop. And you run in real quick and grab them. And I'll point you to one of the best videos out there if you want to see it really in action. There's one in Northern York, Pennsylvania. So Northern York, Pennsylvania. It's on our YouTube channel. And this guy is he's a former service member, suffering from post-traumatic stress. It's punched a hole in the wall of the house. 13-year-old daughter and wife have called police, and they're dealing with him, and he wants to fight. Hands down, he wants to fight. And end up wrapping him. They wrap him high. And I mean, he's squared up, ready to go. He just says, you better call for some help because we're about to get it on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one. It's a great video. And they wrap him high, and he just does this. He can't break it. He just does this. And his poor wife thinks they shot him. And they run up and put him in handcuffs. No use of force, no fight, no punch thrown. I mean, it's just a classic example of how this is used to de-escalate situations. And that's the buzzword, right? How it's used to de-escalate situations and not let them get out of control. That lead to higher levels of force. Because if that guy had fought those officers, somebody's getting hurt. It may have been small.
Yeah, I'm trying to mean to interrupt you.
No, they're going to win. No, the officer's going to win. We know that.
Sure. I was kind of
cost?
picturing that scenario as well as a lot of the mental health costs that we go on, because a lot of them, from the minute you get there, it's not a fight, but you can tell it's going to be physical to take them into custody. They're already saying, they're, like you say, tensing up, or they're, you're not taking me, and it's already contentious the minute you arrive. It hadn't got into the fight yet, but it has started.
And we'll spend our time with them as much as possible.
Sure.
Usually dinner time is on our side. Not always, but generally time is on our side. But at some point, you know what? We get enough resources here. Let's do a double wrap on this person. Let's do a double wrap on legs. No, your hands. I'm wrapping. He's wrapping, or she's wrapping on me. Wrap, pop, pop, and we move in and grab them. Give them, secure them in handcuffs. Everything slows down. Let's get this off of them. Let's get them to the hospital.
So that makes me think of a couple more questions. First of all, the agencies in the U.S. that are carrying them, is this an item that they're issuing to every officer, or is it a specialty item that they're deploying with select individuals or groups within the department?
Everywhere is a little bit different. You have some agencies that are like full deployment, like every officer has it on them, which we obviously push, because when you need it, you need it.
Right.
I don't want to wait for somebody to come across town. I don't want this thing to get out of control. Some just crisis intervention teams, your mobile crisis response teams are carrying it. Some of them run a fleet-based system, where the officer, where you check it out when you come on duty. The biggest thing we battle is belt space. budget and belt space.
That is a belt. Yeah, that's a big one.
I didn't have a whole lot of belt space.
No, I asked Denny if they made child size uniforms.
You know what?
He was,
You know, now we're out 2 bottles for a double wrap on Al.
I got you covered. I'll cover one of the bottles on you too. I got one of the
who
bottles.
knew Oshkosh by gosh made police uniforms?
You know what, man?
But we do make like the out of vest carriers and things like that, where people can wear them out on the out of vest carrier. They come in yellow, they come in black, they come in green. And but the idea is to have them when you need it. You need it. There's another video online. Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
They have a lady has called in because her son has autism, has been violent with police in the past, is throwing things in the car.
Mhm.
So the body camera starts with one officer that has it, and he shows up there, and there's like 8 officers surrounding this guy. And he's being compliant. He's up against a wall. He's being compliant, but he's standing there because he's choosing to stand there. Because as I would, he could walk away at any point. He could, they could have a walking containment on him, or he could just challenge one of them, and it's fine. It's a big fella too. When you say a kid, he's a grown man. And the one officer with the BolaWrap gets there finally. Y'all ready? Okay, wrap, pop. They wrap him, run up, and put him in handcuffs, and it's solved. That could have been solved, 4 officers ago. Instead of having 8 officers there, you could have 3 officers there, and this could have been resolved a long time ago. So back to your fundamental question, it runs the gamut of how people deploy it.
So it kind of takes me back to a devil's advocate question, and I'll give you this kind of scenario. This was an incident in New York fairly recently. You may be familiar with it. It was 2 officers. They go into, it's kind of like a narrow courtyard space of an apartment, responding to somebody in some sort of mental distress. Dad had called on his son, who had broken into the apartment. And when the officers get there, he's non-compliant. And I think it's a matter of 30 seconds maybe, where the guy goes from just not being compliant to verbal direction to he's got a 10-inch knife out and he's charging the officer. And they shoot him. They don't kill him, but they shoot him. They drop him. And of course, the criticism is you shot this guy. He's in mental distress, right? And where I'm kind of going with this is, do you have a situation where they got the bolo? Why didn't you use the bolo? Why did you shoot this guy? Which, again, could happen with a taser and does.
Right.
But, with this piece of technology, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I guess I would have to say that you have to respond when you have time.
Right.
That's a life and death decision right there. If you're out there with the guy for 20 or 30 minutes, and he's not challenging with the knife or anything like that. And we don't really recommend using this with somebody armed with a knife. Could you as part of a tactical plan? It could be, a very strategic tactical plan. But that situation, those officers' lives are in immediate danger, as what you just said. I'm not familiar with that case at all. But as you said, those lives are in immediate danger, whether you had a BolaWrap or whether you had some other fancy tool that needed a deadly force response. Tragically. I mean, it's just tragically that happens. We have an interview with a lady on our YouTube channel. It's a good case because she survived, but it's just a horrible example. It's they get 911 call in California, a female, I think, teenager behind a store with a knife, just like what you mentioned. Officer gets her, hey, how you doing? You look like so, and she pulls out the knife, and she wants suicide by cop. Is what she's looking for. And he backs up, tries to create space, and she keeps coming at him. And he ends up shooting her 3 times, and she survives. And now we've interviewed her and talked to her and showed her the technology, and she's like, if I'd heard a pop and something, hit me, I would have fell to the ground, thought I'd shot. That would have solved the problem. And I do some de-escalation training, and one of the things that I've been taught by people that are much smarter than I am is like when they face with these people that are suicide by cop with knives, especially, is when they see that gun come out. When we go to protect ourselves, we see we pull our handgun out. they see that's the answer to my problem right there. I now see you have just given me the answer to my problem, and I'm going at you. And now I'm not saying you don't pull your gun out when someone with a knife,
Sure.
but it's just we got to rethink this whole concept. If we know that's the kind of situation, as long as you got time and distance and cover and all those kind of things, is it best to be pointing a gun at somebody with a knife that's wanting suicide by cop?
But just to be clear, your company is not advocating that.
No.
Okay.
No. Again, so two different things. Talking just tactically and de-escalation in general about suicide by cop and some of the knives. Okay, I'm just giving you an example of someone when they see a gun, there's the answer to their problem, and they're going to charge at you with a knife. Right? We see it play out a lot across the country. As far as BolaWrap and wrap technologies, do you use this on somebody armed with a knife? Maybe as part of a larger tactical plan as a potential option with many other layers in place. But as a first response, absolutely not. I would not do that. We don't recommend that.
Or like with other things, you have your lethal deployed and your less lethal deployed
Yeah.
simultaneously.
I was just thinking about that. You have that lethal cover, but you have your less than lethal to be able to engage in if you need the lethality. You have it.
I'm thinking just out loud here, a situation like that. If you had the time, you had all these tools, you had a 40 millimeter there, and you got somebody with an AR or a couple of handguns, and you got a BolaWrap. Say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to wrap this person first and see if we can, just wrap their arms together and get the knife. Then get ready to pop them with a 40, and then if all that fails and they come charging at us, then we'll have to go up to lethal force. But here's our tactical plan. Again, this is a piece of a much larger tactical plan.
Sure.
In a situation like that. Again, this is designed for that low level resistance to keep us from getting in a fight with people, to keep us from getting hurt, from hurting them, from using our traditional pain compliance tools that we've always had. This is something that is new. Like you mentioned, you have your doubts. I get it. I did too. But I think it's the way of the future is, especially in communities. Your son, daughter, mom, dad, pick your family member that if they were in crisis, what would you want an officer or deputy using on them? Something that creates pain or something that doesn't? And once you think to yourself, I'd love for them to try this first. I really don't want my dad having 50,000 volts of electricity going through him. If he doesn't have to, he has dementia and he's walking in the middle of the roadway and he won't listen and he needs to be restrained. Can I go up and tackle him? Sure. You can do that. You can try to restrain their legs, restrain their arms. So
I do like it for a fleeing suspect. I do. I mean, because if you can, in that situation, you just got to kind of keep them within distance to be able to deploy it. Hopefully, I'm having to run a lot less, not nearly as far, and then it always ends in a tackle, and then everybody's getting all scuffed up, tore up, and banged up in a tackle. I mean, your uniform's coming away all tore up.
Thank you.
You're rolling around on the ground. So that way you get them wrapped. You're hopefully, again, you're not having to run quite as far. But when you get there, it's just a matter of putting the cuffs on. It's not now a fight on the ground after tackling.
I say that a lot. Let them fall on their own because in my foot pursuit days, I was never fast enough to catch anybody, honestly. I was not that guy. But if I tackled them, all my body weight's going on them or their body weight's going on me. And, we're scuffling, we're blah, blah, blah. Everything's happening. Just let them fall on their own. There's another body cam video out there. If you see our YouTube channel, I think it's titled BolaWrap Baby. Like, what do you mean, baby? And it's in Florida, Hillsborough, Florida. They have like 100% every deputy carries them, Hillsborough County, Florida. And they were looking for a guy. It was a warrant. And he's out in the woods at night, and she sees him running. So she's already got it out, and she's running after him. She boom. She deploys it, just points out and deploys it. He goes down, and they run up and handcuff him. No issues, no fight, no nothing. And as she gets the handcuffs on, she goes, "BolaWrap, baby." Again, they're a big fan, and they use the bunch. It's culturalized. It's a culture of that organization that we try this first.
Okay.
We try something that doesn't create pain first before we move up when we can. Not every situation allows for it.
I am still picturing the SWAT team standing around going, "Hey, what happens if the thing goes around your neck?" And the poor guy that was the most junior member of the team, like, "Hey, Stand over there, Jimmy. Hey,
Yeah.
you're still alive. It's pretty good. It's,
Again, it doesn't constrict. The physics just doesn't allow it to constrict.
So
Again, the danger of these things hitting you.
as somebody who again spent a good number of years as a trainer, does your company, do they come out and provide training on the product? And then the other thing being, do you provide like a model policy for the agency that may choose to adopt this?
and a train the trainer, I would assume.
So multiple questions there, but certainly, yeah.
Train the trainer went without saying.
We have an instructor class. So we have a master instructor class that we usually do once a year. That's a master. We're actually doing it next month in Tempe, where our manufacturing plant is. That allows people to certify other instructors.
Gotcha.
Generally, agencies, Seguin, Texas, bought BolaWraps, which they have now. We went out there and trained, I think, a half dozen, 4 or 5 of their people as instructors. Already people like yourself, DT instructors, whatever, as instructors. That's an 8-hour class.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. You get wrapped, you run scenarios, teach how to run them safely, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can then certify their end users.
So similar to Taser Axon or Monadnock or somebody like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Instructor, the end user, and then you recert once a year, that kind of stuff. You have to deploy some devices, deploy cassettes. One thing I didn't mention, we don't say anything about weapons. So we don't say it doesn't have a trigger, it doesn't have a safety, it has an on-off switch. It's not a cartridge, it's a cassette. And I don't know if I showed y'all what it looked. Again, our listeners can't see this, but this is a clear version.
Okay.
But you can see the Kevlar cord wrapped in there.
Yeah. Huh.
But that's what goes in the device. And there you go.
Can you send me one to demo on my teenagers?
We'll come use your demo. I'll come out and do a demo. We are spending a lot of time you're in Virginia, correct?
We are Virginia. Yep.
Yeah. We are spending a lot of time in Virginia right now. So there's agencies up there using it, and we get a lot of interest from the corrections side of the house, believe it or not. And
I can see a real use on the corrections side.
I can definitely see them benefiting a lot from it in that environment.
And we think, I always thought cell extraction, that it's not going to work in a cell extraction. This is not the environment. But day yards, transport, all those different places, and we're seeing a lot of interest from that sector right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up in your neck of the woods. I'd love to come and wrap you. I'll bring a bottle of your favorite with me, and
I like it.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can wrap Denny. I mean,
no, you're getting wrapped.
Yeah, okay.
I can wrap you together. If y'all are going at it, I'll wrap you together.
Maybe we'll put it on YouTube. We can get some donations if we get wrapped together.
There you go. But we can wrap up the wrap conversation if you want to. But in all seriousness, I honest back to my why is I truly believe it'll save lives and it'll save careers. It'll prevent things from spiraling out of control. And once cops, once their heart rates get up and things start going up, that's when the extra kick comes in, the extra punch comes in, and what the scrutiny we're under now, police officers now, we don't need that. So if I can wrap somebody and they're stunned like I was when I got wrapped, and I looked down at my legs like, what just happened to me? And next thing I know, people grab my arms, put me in handcuffs. That's a win for everybody. That's huge. It's a win. We're a publicly traded company. It's not a fly-by-night company by any stretch of imagination. Publicly traded, WRAP, WRAP, NASDAQ, and agencies are coming on every week.
And the company is WRAP Solutions.
WRAP Technologies.
WRAP Technology. Sorry, WRAP Technology. You have a website as well that people can go and watch some of the videos and how the tool works.
Our YouTube channel is the quickest way to see this. And
gotcha.
I wouldn't do it justice if I don't. We have 2 other actually products I need to mention. We have body camera business that we just acquired last year, Intrinsic.
Okay.
It's a digital evidence management platform and body camera, and also a virtual reality training platform.
Oh wow!
So that's the way of training. I don't know if you experienced or you retired on the VR side, but
I had an occasion. Trying to remember the name of the company.
There's several different companies out there.
It was a company that was in the process, I won't give too many details, but partnering with a university and a state law enforcement commission, and I was asked to come and view the VR demo, and that particular technology, again, I walked in extremely skeptical, and was blown away. So,
I think it'll be the future. I really do. It's amazing because if you've ever been through the alert training program, we talk about 540 degrees of coverage. So you're always looking, 360 around you and up and over. VR is the same way.
Yeah, this particular one, and I'd like to see y'all's. It was really, I mean, because my friend of mine was a professor at the university, and he's like, "Well, do you have any questions?" I'm like, "No, the dude just answered everything before I could even ask it." So,
And it's not just use of force skills on that. It's being able to communicate with people. And if you never pull a gun out, you never pull a BolaWrap out, you never pull a trunk control device out, it's you sit and talk to somebody. Or it may turn into a shooting. You don't know what, but I think virtual is the way of the future. But anyway, that's the three things that we do.
Cool.
Is the BolaWrap, and we're the only one in the world that does that. Then you have the Intrinsic, which is a body camera digital evidence management solution, and then the Wrap Reality. Virtual
Nice.
training.
Which sounds like you are doing a lot of things to try to help the law enforcement career have plenty of tools and ways to be successful.
Yes, sir. And again, I had every intention of coming and going red fishing every day on the coast here, but I found something I believe in. And
That's
again,
awesome.
if I can help our brothers and sisters that are still out, facing it, putting up the good fight, doing what they do, and giving them a tool that may help keep them out of trouble.
Yep.
I'm all about that.
Well, that's great.
well, Terry, if you get into the Central Virginia area, definitely look us up.
Please, or shoot an email. Let us know you're going to be here.
Yep. I'll make sure I've got your contact information now, and I will let you know, and you'll be invited a VIP.
That would be fantastic.
I could probably make that happen a lot sooner rather than later because I've got some good hooks in Virginia.
Man, that would be great. I'd love, but we could put that on. We can kind of launch that on our YouTube as we're trying to get that rolling. That would be awesome. So, but Terry, thanks so much for coming on.
He sounds scared.
He does, and I like it.
Apprehensive.
I like it. I like it.
I get a bottle out of it, right?
You don't get a bottle out of it. Well, I don't know. Okay. Terry said he was going to bring a bottle, so we'll enjoy it afterwards.
Fair enough.
Yeah, afterwards we'll enjoy it.
That's right. After wrap. No pre-wrap. All post.
Nothing to be apprehensive about. It's all good. If I can sit there in my blower uniform pants and get wrapped and not even have a scratch on me, you'll be good to go.
I think it's awesome.
Okay.
We're looking forward to it.
Well, great.
Terry, thank you so much for coming on Badge to the Bone.
Hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen, and thank you for what you do and bringing all the awareness, especially the mental health piece, awareness and leadership that we desperately need in this business to the forefront. So thanks for having me, and you know where I'm at.
Yeah, we appreciate your perspectives on what's going on with law enforcement today, and we definitely appreciate the information. That was definitely informative, and I hope folks listening will look into that BolaWrap and check it out.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you all very much.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. So lately, we've had a lot of folks ask us, hey guys, how can we help support the podcast? Well, there's a lot of ways you can do that. And first is, wherever you are listening to Badge to the Bone, whatever platform you're using, make sure to follow us. That's a huge help. Also, go over to our Facebook page and make sure to like and follow us there. Another way you can support the podcast is through a monetary donation. If you notice in the descriptions to each episode, there's a link that says support this podcast. Click that link and you can make a monetary donation as small or as big as you like. You can also make it reoccurring. Any amount is helpful, and we are appreciative. And the last way you can support the podcast is through our Badge to the Bone podcast store. The link for that is located on our Facebook page and on our website, badgetothebone.com. And we've actually got some pretty cool stuff on the store. We've got t-shirts, we've got hoodies, stickers, we've got tumblers. The tumblers are great. I take my tumbler everywhere. It's awesome. Take a look at and purchase something. Anything you get helps support this podcast. It helps us keep this thing going. So thanks so much, but let's get back to the show. Well, Al, I guess that is a wrap.
I see what you did there.
Terrible dad joke.
That was really bad.
Right now, anybody listening is rolling their eyes.
And
Mission accomplished.
that was interesting. I was I was really skeptical, and there's a part of me that's it's still skeptical. It's new.
Well, anything that's new, we're gonna be, and I think until you see it,
No, and two things that cops hate are change and the way things are.
right. That's so true, so true. But good conversation.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm really glad that he came on.
Yeah, I thought he had some really great perspectives on leadership and being a leader. Things that we talk about that we think are important. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. So I think that's another good episode in the can.
Yeah, and I definitely, we'll definitely be checking out the BolaWrap. And anybody listening, let your agencies check it out. Maybe.
Yeah, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah,
let us know.
If you have any experience with it, yeah, definitely let us know. Definitely interested. We'll be checking that out. So hopefully we'll get to catch up with Terry here in Virginia, and I'll be anxious to watch you get wrapped.
Yeah, sure.
I think it'll be awesome. But that's going to wrap us up, Al.
I think it does.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at badgetothebone.com. They can also find us on Facebook at Badge to the Bone. And please like and follow us on Spotify.
Absolutely. Please follow us and email us at wearebadgetothebone@gmail.com. But until then, be safe
And be well.